Non-banking entities, also called vulture funds or shadow banks, play an increasingly prominent role in Ireland's financial services sector in direct lending to individuals. According to the central bank, non-bank lenders have increased their share of new mortgage lending from 3% in 2018 to 13% in 2021. They are responsible for a third of new lending in the refinancing and buy-to-let segments of the market. As of September 2022, non-banking entities own over 56% of all domestic mortgages in arrears. This is up from 43% in March 2021 and 37% in March 2019. Non-banking entities also hold higher proportions of those mortgages that display the highest level of arrears. In total, non-banking entities held a significant 74% of all domestic mortgage accounts in arrears for more than 1 year in September 2022, up from 54% in March 2021. There are several important points of note regarding the rise of non-banks in this sector. First, the choice to sell these portfolios en masse is a concerning activity of banks, in our view, as it would appear that these creditors, quote, lose patience with the process of engaging with borrowers through alternative restructuring arrangements and would rather, quote, cut their losses and sell. MABS would question what such behaviours say about banks, their appetite to support customers in distress, and their policies and procedures in terms of credit assessment in the first instance. The EU Directive on Credit Servicers and Purchasers cites the need for these entities in the case when, quote, institutions face a large buildup of NPLs, non-performing loans, and lack the staff or expertise to properly service them, end quote. There are also ongoing concerns over the consequences of banks severing their relationship with borrowers through loan sales, in particular for how these borrowers will bank and access credit in the future. Also, these non-banking entities purchase mortgages and other non-performing loans, including SME loans, at discounted rates. Accordingly, any classification of their market share as growth has to be compared with the equal decline in the market share of the selling banks. Since 2017, MABS and the Banking and Payments Federation Ireland, or the BPFI, have had an agreed protocol in place to ensure that all lenders, banks and non-banking firms work together with MABS to help resolve mortgage debt problems practically and sustainably, ensuring borrowers that their rights to consumer protection are safeguarded throughout this process. MABS can report that we have had a number of positive dealings with non-banking entities in the cases of mortgage arrears, in particular through the Awalia scheme. Some of these funds have agreed to arrangements that are more favorable for borrowers facing mortgage arrears than a traditional bank. However, non-banking entities can also act in a manner that further penalizes consumers. MABS staff have observed that the overall behavior of non-banking entities towards clients, such as the decision to enter into insolvency arrangements, depends on the entity and their own internal protocols and the amount of documentation received from the original mortgagee bank. We would like to highlight 4 points of contention that can arise from working with these lenders. The first is loan transparency and communication. In cases where their loan books are sold, clients receive the details of these sales via post and have no legal basis to appeal the sale. This is true of all loans, regardless of whether or not they are in arrears. In MABS experience, relevant loan documents and statements are often lost during the loan sale process, and this makes it difficult to validate the accurate accrual of debt in arrears balance. The second is a chain of loan ownership. In supporting borrowers, MABS does much more than budgeting and rescheduling of debts. It uses, as relevant, legislation and regulation in a model which reflects both client responsibilities as well as their rights as consumers. Therefore, it is very important for MABS to be able to locate responsibility and accountability within the credit, quote, supply chain and draw on related regulation and legislation to support its clients to uphold their rights. And the third is recent interest rate hikes. Over the past 6 months, MABS clients servicing mortgage debts with some retail credit firms have faced an interest rate spike to over 6%, well over in some cases, more than twice the ECB, European Central Bank, tracker average of 3%. This includes those clients with voluntary ARAs, alternative repayment arrangements, and with statutory insolvency arrangements sanctioned under the current Irish Personal Insolvency Act, options that serve as a lifeline for MABS clients in mortgage arrears. The interest rate hikes serve as a particularly alarming trend during a cost of living crisis and is having disastrous effects. With another 0.5% rise in mortgage interest rates indicated by the ECB, we are wary that the situation will continue to worsen. And the fourth and final point we'd like to raise is in terms of lack of public accountability. From our 30 years experience working with borrowers facing the stressful situation of arrears, we assert that the more direct engagement between purchaser and credit service providers, the better the outcome for all parties. Traditional mainstream banks have, notwithstanding their responsibility for regulatory compliance, a level of cultural or public accountability in Ireland, a history of engagement with ourselves at MABS, and offer a suite of supports for clients in financial distress. In many cases, non-banking entities do not have these traits, and in our experience, this can indicate a lack of willingness to accommodate clients and their needs. At MABS, we recognize the importance of regulatory frameworks that best serve the needs and rights of our clients. Some argue that this new, secondary market for non-performing loans provides a valuable service and increases competition within the Irish financial industry. At MABS, we do support competition, in particular where it broadens access to necessary and affordable credit, including for mortgage lending. However, it must be accompanied by appropriate regulation to ensure, first of all, that all consumers are informed in plain language about all aspects of the finance from the outset. Creditors should also readily communicate with borrowers that they have rights and can exercise their rights when things do go wrong. We maintain that non-banking entities must work towards a demonstrable, affordable, and sustainable solution for borrowers that reflects the fact that the loan has been purchased at a discount from the original loan provider. MABS and other supportive debt and client advocacy organizations play a crucial role in ensuring the realization of this goal. Therefore, credit servicers must engage with ourselves at MABS meaningfully and regularly in our work on behalf of clients. We enjoy a positive working relationship built over years of mutual trust and respect with mainstream Irish retail banks. It is imperative that this relationship continues in our engagement with non-banking entities. Thank you.